Good morning. It's Sunday, June 23rd, and the Supreme Court has come to a decision that I approve of. And I don't approve much of what this Supreme Court has done in the past. This is a very, very conservative Supreme Court, and I don't believe that they have the best interests of the U.S. in their heart. So this latest decision, which I approve of, was made and should have been made a long time ago. This is a decision that upholds the law banning domestic abusers from owning guns. That there should be laws that ban more than domestic abusers from owning guns. But that's not what this country is like. This country is gun happy. Anyhow, this decision showed that the Supreme Court, which is a conservative court and which has expanded gun rights in the past, also has the ability to see areas for limitations. Now, that's a wonderful statement. Look for areas of limitation. The gun law should be extreme in the areas of limitation. We have too many guns in this country in the hands of too many people, and that in and of itself creates the domestic violence that exists with respect to gun ownership. And the killings, the mass killings in this country are out of control. And they have been out of control for a long, long time. We're not even halfway through this year, and we have over 200 mass killings in the country already. And these mass killings are all associated with guns in some way, shape, or form. Some may be illegal, but mostly are legally owned and legally operate. And that is a major disgrace that this country has difficulty living down in the eyes of the rest of the world. There's no nation that's a civilized democracy like we are supposed to be that is in our category that has the same percentage of gun violence that we have. So the Supreme Court acted on Friday the other day and upheld the law banning domestic abusers from owning guns. So this action has proven to the world that a conservative court, which in the past expanded gun rights, also can take action when it sees areas for limitation. Now that's a wonderful, wonderful idea. But who is going to put in place the physical actions that have to take place when these areas of limitations need to be executed, so to speak? Who's going to do that? And what kind of punishments will be put in place for those areas of execution? Who knows? That's still up in the air. And it's difficult in these kinds of situations to even come to the conclusion that a person's actions rose to the level of domestic abuse. If you yell and scream at somebody who's a family member, is that domestic abuse? If you curse, is that domestic abuse? Now, there are many ways to abuse people, but I'm thinking this law is talking about physical abuse. But if you are a mental abuser of somebody, is that going to stop you from getting a gun? It should, but it may not. So this decision by the Supreme Court, in my mind, has holes in it. Because I don't think that there was a true definition of what domestic abuse entailed. It's easy if somebody is beating somebody up, but there are many other forms of domestic abuse. Do they fall into the category that's represented by this gun situation? I'm not so sure. I am not so sure about that. And I don't think the Supreme Court is sure about that because there was no mention of what falls into the category. And I don't blame them for that necessarily, because that might take them a whole term to figure out all the ins and outs of what truly represents domestic abuse. If you turn your back on somebody and walk away, is that domestic abuse? If you refuse to talk to your wife or children for a couple of days, is that domestic abuse? Domestic abuse is a difficult thing to prove. And so while they've come up with this ruling in the gun law, the foundation of that ruling has not been established in my mind. So it's another situation where the court has acted. And you have 8 members on this court who have acted positively toward this solution to a piece of gun violence in this country. And maybe anything you do should be considered domestic abuse. And then we would get a lot of guns off the street. But I don't think the justices have done that. They're very confused in some of the statements that they have made about this situation. In fact, one of the justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson, joined the minority but quibbled about analyzing the statutes based upon how they will be viewed historically. Who cares how they are viewed historically? The issue is current. It's now. It's a disaster in this country. Over 200 and something, as I call national law. So why are they worried about this shit about what the majority thinks? The majority of the people don't agree with the Supreme Court anyhow. They ban abortion. They reverse Roe versus Wade. That gave this court a monumental black mark on their doings. So while they argue about the historical perspective of the Second Amendment, that's the amendment that deals with gun control, why should they worry about what history is going to look like? You have to do the right thing right now. And while they come up with this gun banning situation, it's not enough to get all the guns off the streets. So I leave you with a horrible situation that is not getting any better in my mind. Have a great day. Bye.